Guys, welcome to my new video, and today we'll be talking about the MDI. There's been so much talk about some of the class balance, and I want to talk about some of the most popular range DPS classes, most popular melee DPS classes, the best tank and the best healer in these plus 19 keys that are mandatory for the MDI. Big disclaimer, before I even talk about the class balance here, there is a huge difference between doing 19s in terms of speedrunning, in terms of keys that should usually take 30 minutes, they've been done in 10 or 15 minutes. When you compare it to something like a plus 26, the class balance is not comparable. A lot of the specs here that are really popular are not really that popular in those world first keys, where the approach at least is a lot different. It's about survival, it's about surviving a boss hit, it's about cheesing a boss, or classes that can cheese certain mechanics and doing it all in time. While in these plus 19 speedruns, it's all about optimizing time spent, trying to skip a lot of these trash or just doing the most damage possible by pulling all of the boss rooms. So keep that in mind. So first of all, in terms of the most popular composition, I think in terms of the last couple of runs, in terms of the cup runs in MDI, I think this is a very decent, at least a comparison of what's really popular. Prot Warrior, MISTWEAVER Monk, Hunter, and Unholy DK. These classes or specs have been used in majority of MDI, or at least high or successful MDI teams which manage to qualify to go to the finals and things like that. This is very, very popular, and there's multiple reasons, but I want to talk about Beast Mastery Hunter first. Beast Mastery Hunter just came out of kind of nowhere in 8.3, and mainly because of how severe or corruption works in MDI. You can choose any gear you want with any corruption. All of a sudden, Hunters, the way that they scale with crit is absolutely insane because of how much cooldown reduction you get. So all of a sudden you can see a lot of Hunters here are using crit or severe corruption. You also notice that they're not really using the very popular Skitra bow, because I'm sure a lot of the Hunters in MDI have figured out that just getting more crit is going to provide the bigger DPS boost. Now, why are Hunters so popular? A lot of the times there's even double, triple Hunters compositions running for certain keys. A lot of the King's Rest were running triple Beast Mastery Hunters. Why? Because they're 2 cooldowns, Aspect of the Wild, Bestial Wrath. They're 1.5 minutes and 2-minute cooldown. Now you might say, okay, it's not too big of a, or not too long, but you have to remember how the Beast Mastery Hunter rotation works. Most of their abilities will reduce one of their cooldowns, and especially because they'll be running Rapid Reload Azeroth trait, which means that multi-shot will reduce the cooldown of Aspect of Wild. So let's look at how Beast Mastery works. Wild Call, which is going to be your passive ability as a Beast Mastery Hunter, your auto shot crits have a chance of resetting the cooldown of Barb Shot. Barb Shot is your bread and butter. Now, Barb Shot will reduce the cooldown, or the more barb shots you use will reduce the cooldown of Bestial Wrath. So all of a sudden, more crit, more barb shot, more cooldown reduction on Bestial Wrath. On top of that, with Rapid Reload, which is what every Hunter will be using at least one of these Azeroth traits, in AoE situations, more multi-shots, more reduction on your aspect, including Aspect of the Wild. So all of a sudden, Beastmaster Hunter, with this amount of crit, their cooldowns are going to be available every single trash bag. So you can say that Hunter has the most sustainable AoE damage and sustainable single target damage because of how often they get their cooldowns back. They don't have to be like, hey, we have to play around these Hunter cooldowns. There's no such a thing. They're not cooldown dependent because the cooldowns come up so often. And this is why Beastmaster Hunters are one of the most popular MDI ranged or DPS specs in general, and they're also kind of appearing in these really high-end Mythic Plus keys as well. But you need, again, corruption. Severe is just so goddamn strong right now. If we go and look at one of the most popular melee DPS specs, and that is Unholy DK. Unholy DKs have been here for a really long time. They've been stacked on certain keys like Wakecrest Manor. There's double Unholy DK builds going about, and they're very popular. And there's a reason why they're so strong. Uncapped, or at least their AoE, scales so well. Again, Shadowlands is going to change this. They're capping a lot of the abilities, but generally speaking, you can see Fester Might stacking and Magnus of the Dead stacking. Why are they doing this? Why is their AoE so strong? Because of how Festering Wounds and Wounds work. So basically, you will try to apply wounds onto targets, as much of them as possible, and there are certain abilities that have a chance of applying wounds, like Dead and Decay. Your pet's Claw, Infected Claw, has a chance of applying wounds as well. If you use Dark Transformation, it becomes AoE type of deal, and it's much more stronger. So all of a sudden, tank pulls the whole room, because that's how you play towards Unholy DKs. You have to have as many targets as possible. It pulls the whole room. Unholy DKs try to put as many wounds or festering wounds on as many targets as possible, and then try to pop them. By popping them, because of your Festamite Azeroth trait, bursting a festering wound grants you a certain amount of strength for 20 seconds stacking. Because of this, you can stack so much strength and your damage is going to scale and scale and scale. Again, there is a cap on how much you can stack and things like that, thank God. Otherwise, you will see billions of damage. But either way, Unholy DK is the king of AoE if you can make it work. Not every dungeon is going to allow you to do 20, 30 trash back pulls and things like that. Not every dungeon. And you have to play towards this. It's not like a Beast Mastery Hunter that has consistent AoE and consistent single target. Unholy DK is only really going to pop off when you can do these massive pulls and they have their cooldowns available and they can apply their runes and things like that. So generally speaking, depending on the dungeon, depending on the quality of the player, Unholy DK king of uncapped AoE at this given point, but you have to make it work. If you don't feel comfortable, you get that Beast Mastery Hunter for the consistent damage, AoE and single target. And now let's talk about a combination of tanks and healers, and there really is only one of each. In terms of tanking, it's all about your Prot Warriors, and Prot Warriors have emerged as one of the tankiest tanks in the game right now, at least in Mythic Plus. In Raid it's a different scenario, but in Mythic Plus, Prot Warriors are one of the tankiest tanks. They provide a lot of damage and they have Spell Reflect. Those are the three options that makes Prot Warriors the strongest tanks in MDI and one of the strongest tanks in high Mythic 26 pushes. Keep in mind there's a lot of Brewmasters there as well, but generally the balanced Prot Warriors are very, very strong. So let's talk about why. There are multiple reasons why Prot Warriors are being so strong, because a lot of the times they'll be stacking things like Bastion of the Might, which Avatar increases your mastery. Avatar is your bread and butter that makes your Prot Warrior really, really strong. During Avatar, it's a cooldown that makes you deal more damage and things like that. So all of a sudden, getting as much or trying to use your Avatar as much as possible is going to be the key to success as a Prot Warrior. And you also want to have at least one Deafening Crash trait that's going to increase the damage of Thunderclap. Thunderclap is also very strong during Avatar. So all of a sudden, how do you deal with this? You can see Memory of Lucid Dream being used as a major by a lot of Prot Warriors. Memory of Lucid Dream with this talent, Anger Management, which is also mandatory. Rage you spend reduces the remaining cooldown on Avatar. Last Stand, Shield 1, things like that. But Avatar is the one that you really want to pay attention to. So the more rage you spend, the shorter cooldown on Avatar. Memory of Lucid Dreams, every 2 minutes you get this cooldown, which increases your generation of rage. More rage generation, you need to generate it and spend it well during your Memory of Lucid Dreams, which means you're gonna get bigger cooldown or reduction of cooldown on Avatar. Memory of Lucid Dreams, more rage generated spend, more avatars. More avatars, you get more use of Bastion of the Might, which increases your mastery during your Avatar. So all of a sudden you can see how this all correlates or chains up together. Memory of Lucid Dream, more Avatar uses more damage, and on top of that you have Spell Reflect. Spell Reflect is another very, very strong ability that a lot of tanks or a lot of people overlook, because at least the last couple of months I checked, it's not being shown up on damage meters from what I remember, but generally speaking, Raise Your Shield reflects the spell cast on you and reduces the magic damage you take by 20%. Magic damage reduction is pretty nice here, but this thing here reflects spells cast on you. This can be absolutely huge. If you're facing a tyrannical boss that's about to cast an ability that deals a ton of damage, using Spell Reflect not only eliminates any damage as a tank you're going to take, but it also sends it back to the boss and deals a ton of damage based, again, the level of the key. We're talking about the 19s here, but even in high keys, this can deal so much damage. And from what I remember, this is not being shown up on damage meters. So all of a sudden, not only Prot Warrior damage is insane, but you also have to account for the damage that Spell Reflect can do. So again, you can see why Prot Warriors are the most popular MDI key pushers, but also the fact that they're really strong in these 26 keys as well makes them one of the strongest Mythic Plus tanks at this given point. Again, there are Brewmasters and things like that kind of climbing in as well, but Prot Warriors, you cannot go wrong with them at this given point. And again, in terms of healers, you'll kind of see my point here exactly. MISTWEAVER is everywhere. You can see that MISTWEAVER is basically probably 95% of the keys are going to be done using a MISTWEAVER monk, and you'll probably notice that the highest keys in the world, there's very few MISTWEAVERs in those. So you can see where I mean speedrunning is not the same as pushing the highest keys in the world. So let's look at MISTWEAVERs and what makes them strong. Now, a lot of them will be running Rising Mist talent, but that's not the reason that makes them strong. Even the nerf that happened, I'm not sure if it's actually applied in MDI yet. It's not the reason that they're really, really strong, that they brought in all these MDI speedrunning keys. It's Way of the Crane. it's Way of the Crane. So you use Conflict and Stripe Major and you get Way of the Crane, which is going to mean that you're gonna deal more damage, but also the damage that you deal is going to be healing 3 other members. And because of how AoE capping works, you have to remember, you're doing huge trash pack pulls in MDI. You're doing massive trash pack pulls, and you can use Spinning Crane Kick. Spinning Crane Kick is going to be AoE capped in Shadowlands, and it's going to be a lot different in Shadowlands. But right now in BfA, Spinning Crane Kick will affect as many targets as there are. So all of a sudden, if you pull 20 trash pack mobs, you pop your Way of the Crane, you do your Spinning Crane Kick. So all of a sudden, you can see why a lot of people are running things like Seeker Infusion. Seeker Infusion is very, very popular for a lot of MISTWEAVERs because it's gonna make your Thunder Focus Tea stronger. After you use Thunder Focus Tea, the next ability you use is going to increase your secondary stats. So for example, if you're using Thunder Focus Tea into Rising Sun Kick, which is what a lot of people are going to be doing, it's going to reduce the cooldown Rising Sun Kick, and it's also gonna give you a huge boost of versatility. So if you use that during your Way of the Crane spinning type of deal, the amount of secondaries you gain, the amount of damage you're going to be dealing, the amount of healing that you're going to be dealing is going to be insane. So if you can do a combo of Thunder Focus Tea into Rising Sun Kick, then you have your Way of the Crane, Spinning Crane Kick and things like that, depending on how many targets, it's just going to be unmatched. The burst amount of healing during Way of the Crane, no other healer can really match it, and Way of the Crane cooldown is only 1 minute. Again, you have to remember the mana cost associated is insane, 25,000, but with Mana Tea, which is what a lot of people are using, going to reduce that. So depending, Way of the Crane can be used every 1 minute, but it might not be used every minute because of mana constraints, but generally speaking, no other healer is going to match that. And also the fact that you have to remember, monks give you 5% physical buff. You have to see how many physical dealers there are in the most popular compositions. Basically, you need that 5% physical buff. But what other monk specs are there? You have Brewmaster, which is a very strong tank, but Prot Warrior to some extent can be equal or better in at least in MDI situations, so you're gonna try and go with a Prot Warrior. Second, you have a Windwalker Monk, which is actually a very decent class in terms of melee DPS, in terms of pushing high keys and things like that, but at the same time you can't really compete with a Beastmaster Hunter with those Severes or Unholy Decay with that uncapped AoE damage. You can't compete that, so all of a sudden MISTWEAVER becomes the #1 choice for that 5% physical buff. So not only you have Way of the Crane, one of the best abilities if you can optimize it with your Seeker Infusion, Azeroth traits and things like that, and also as a MISTWEAVER a lot of the times, Gushing Wounds is going to be what you go with because it's one of the best per corruption DPS trait. So you have to remember, healers have to deal DPS. That's very, very important. And this is going to be very strong during Spinning Crane King and things like that. So all of a sudden, Way of the Crane, 5% physical buff. The amount of burst healing is unmatched by anyone else. You can use it on every 1 minute if you have the mana for it. Best healer for MDI or speedrunning. And this has been my video to kind of convey to you why these classes are really, really strong. But the reasons why they're so strong also because you can pick up any Azeroth traits. You can get a crazy amount of Severe on your Hunter and things like that, and it makes them really strong. And this class balance cannot be directly correlated or linked to the highest 26 keys being done, because you'll see that there's not a whole lot of Unholy DKs being used in 26 keys, where Fire Mages become a lot more stronger if you can get a lot of combustions out there, and I'll do a video about that later on if people are interested. But right now, let me know how you feel about this class balance, the most popular builds or the most popular spec builds, the Azeroths, the MDI. Let me know how you feel about this. If you enjoy the content, please do subscribe. It helps me to continue and do these videos in the future. Thank you guys, and I'll see you in my next